You're not broken, you're waking up. That restlessness you feel, the sense that something's shifting beneath the surface of your entire existence, isn't anxiety. It's quantum awakening. Your consciousness is expanding beyond the boundaries you've known your whole life, and it feels disorienting because you're literally becoming aware of realities that were invisible to you before. Most people mistake this for a crisis, but here's what's really happening. Your awareness is beginning to interact with the quantum field in a completely different way. The old version of you is dissolving and the unlimited you is emerging. This video will show you exactly what's unfolding, how to navigate each stage, and why the fourth technique I'm sharing today will completely transform how you experience reality itself. You're about to understand what's been happening to you, and more importantly, how to work with it intentionally. So let's talk about what nobody tells you about quantum awakening, because honestly, if you're watching this video right now, there's a really good chance you're already in it. And that matters because most people going through a consciousness awakening have no idea what's actually happening to them. They think something's wrong, they think they're losing their mind, they think they're depressed or anxious or broken, but you're not broken, you're expanding, and there's a massive difference. Today, we're going to walk through 5 profound stages of quantum consciousness evolution, 5 awakening techniques that will help you navigate this transformation with clarity and intention. And I need to tell you right now, the fourth technique we're covering is something that will fundamentally shift how you perceive your own identity. It's connected to something even more powerful that I want you to explore after this video, something about how quantum healing techniques can actually work at the cellular level. But we'll get to that. First, let me explain what quantum awakening actually is. Because in manifestation, we believe this is the most important shift a human being can experience. Quantum awakening is the moment your consciousness begins to recognize itself as the creative force behind your reality. It's not a metaphor. It's not just spiritual poetry. In the world of manifestation, we believe that consciousness isn't something your brain produces. It's a field you're connected to, a quantum field of infinite possibility. And when you awaken, you start to realize that your awareness isn't just observing reality, it's actively participating in which version of reality collapses into your experience. Think about the observer effect in quantum physics. When scientists observe a particle, the act of observation changes the behavior of that particle. It collapses from a wave of probability into a specific location. Now, in traditional quantum mechanics, observation just means measurement by any means, not necessarily human consciousness. But in manifestation, we believe there's something profound happening here, something that suggests consciousness itself plays a role in collapsing potential into actual experience. Your awareness isn't passive, it's creative, and quantum awakening is when you start to feel that truth in your bones. So here's the thing. Most people live their entire lives in what I call quantum sleep. They experience reality as something happening to them. They believe they're separate from the world around them. They think their thoughts are just noise in their head and their feelings are just reactions to external circumstances. But when quantum awakening begins, all of that starts to crack open. You begin to notice synchronicities. You start to feel like reality is responding to your internal state. You have moments where time feels different, where you sense possibilities that weren't there before. And it's disorienting because your old framework for understanding life doesn't fit anymore. Let me share something that might resonate with you. There's a moment in every quantum awakening where you realize you've been living in a story about who you are. A story you didn't write. A story that was handed to you by your family, your culture, your past experiences. And suddenly, that story feels like a costume that doesn't fit. You look around at your life and think, this isn't wrong, but it doesn't feel like me anymore. That feeling, that discomfort, that's not a problem. That's the first stage of quantum consciousness evolution. That's your awareness beginning to stretch beyond the identity you've been living inside. So let's break down the 5 stages of quantum consciousness evolution. Because when you understand where you are in this process, everything becomes clearer. You stop resisting. You start working with the transformation instead of against it. Stage 1 is what I call the disruption phase. This is where most people are when they first start feeling like something's off. Your old life still looks the same from the outside, but internally you're experiencing a kind of restlessness. Things that used to matter don't matter as much. Conversations feel shallow. Your routines feel mechanical. You might even feel guilty about it because logically you know you should be grateful for what you have. But there's this voice inside you saying, there's more. There's something else. This is your consciousness beginning to outgrow the frequency of your current reality. In manifestation, we believe that when you're ready for a quantum leap, your energy starts vibrating at a higher frequency before your external life catches up. And that mismatch creates the disruption. You're not broken, you're expanding. Stage 2 is the seeking phase. This is when you start actively looking for answers. You might find yourself drawn to videos like this one. You start reading books about consciousness, quantum physics, manifestation, spirituality. You're searching for a framework that explains what you're feeling. And here's what's beautiful about this phase. You're not just looking for information, you're looking for permission. Permission to trust what you're sensing. Permission to believe that reality is more flexible than you were taught. This is where awakening techniques become really important, because you need practices that help you stabilize the new awareness that's emerging. You need tools that bridge the gap between your old understanding and your new perception. Stage 3 is the identity crisis phase, and honestly, this is where things get intense. Because at this point, you're not just questioning your circumstances, you're questioning who you are. The beliefs you've held about yourself start to dissolve. You realize that the version of you that you've been presenting to the world is a construct. It's not false, but it's not the whole truth either. You start to see how much of your personality was built around survival, around fitting in, around avoiding rejection. And when you see that clearly, it's both liberating and terrifying. Because if you're not that person, then who are you? This is the stage where people often experience what looks like depression or anxiety, but it's actually a dismantling process. Your consciousness is shedding layers that no longer serve your expansion. In quantum terms, you are collapsing old probability patterns and making space for new ones to emerge. Stage 4 is the integration phase. This is where you start to rebuild, but you're not going back to who you were. You're integrating the expanded awareness into a new sense of self. You begin to experiment with living from this new place. You make different choices. You set different boundaries. You allow yourself to want things you didn't allow yourself to want before. And here's the key. You start to notice that reality responds. When you shift your internal state, your external world begins to shift. Not always immediately, not always in the way you expect, but it shifts. This is where quantum consciousness becomes practical. You're not just philosophizing about consciousness creating reality. You're living it, you're testing it, you're refining it. Stage 5 is the embodiment phase. This is where quantum awakening moves from an event to a way of being. You're no longer trying to awaken, you're living as an awake being. Your awareness is naturally tuned to the quantum field. You feel connected to a larger intelligence. You trust your intuition because you've seen it guide you accurately. You manifest with more ease because you're not fighting against your own resistance anymore. You're aligned. And alignment in manifestation is everything. It's the coherence between what you desire and what you believe is possible. It's the resonance between your internal frequency and the frequency of what you want to experience. When you're in stage 5, you're not chasing awakening anymore. You're expressing it. Now, I want to be really clear about something. These stages aren't linear. You don't move through them once and you're done. Quantum awakening is a spiral. You'll revisit these stages at deeper levels throughout your life. Each time you're ready to expand into a new version of yourself, you'll experience some disruption, some seeking, some identity dissolution, some integration, and some embodiment. And that's not a failure. That's the nature of consciousness evolution. You're not trying to arrive at a final destination. You're learning to dance with expansion. So now let's talk about awakening triggers and quantum leaps. Because one of the most common questions I get is, what causes quantum awakening? Why does it happen to some people and not others? And more importantly, can you trigger it intentionally? Here's what we know from both quantum physics and consciousness research. Quantum leaps happen when a system reaches a critical point of instability. In physics, this is when an electron absorbs enough energy to jump to a higher orbital. It doesn't gradually slide up, it leaps instantaneously. And in manifestation, we believe consciousness works the same way. You accumulate awareness, you accumulate energy, you accumulate new information and experiences. And then, at a certain threshold, your consciousness leaps to a new level of organization. You don't slowly become more awake, you suddenly see things you couldn't see before. Awakening triggers are the catalysts that push you to that threshold. And they're usually not comfortable. Major life transitions are common triggers. A breakup, a job loss, a death of someone close to you, a health crisis. These events shatter your sense of control. They disrupt your story about how life is supposed to go. And in that disruption, your consciousness has an opportunity to reorganize at a higher level. It's like when you shake up a snow globe, everything that was settled gets disrupted, and when it settles again, it settles differently. But here's the thing, you don't have to wait for life to force an awakening. You can create the conditions for a quantum leap intentionally. And that's what the awakening techniques I'm about to share are designed to do. They create enough energetic instability in your system that your consciousness has to reorganize. They interrupt your habitual patterns. They introduce new information to your nervous system. They create space for expansion. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this beautifully in his work on breaking the habit of being yourself. He explains that your personality is essentially a set of memorized behaviors, automatic emotional reactions, and unconscious beliefs. And as long as you keep repeating those patterns, you keep creating the same reality. But when you consciously interrupt those patterns, when you meditate, when you visualize, when you feel emotions you haven't felt before, you're sending a signal to the quantum field that says, I'm ready for something new. And in manifestation, we believe the field responds. There's also research from the HeartMath Institute that shows when you generate elevated emotions like gratitude, joy, or love, your heart produces a coherent electromagnetic field that's measurably stronger than your normal state. And this coherent field doesn't just stay inside you, it extends outward. It interacts with the environment around you. In quantum terms, you're not just changing your internal state, you're changing the field you're connected to. And that, in manifestation, is how consciousness awakening becomes a practical tool for transformation. So let me give you the first awakening technique. I call this the quantum observer practice. This is about training your awareness to recognize the difference between reacting to reality and creating it. Here's how it works. Several times throughout your day, pause and ask yourself, am I observing this moment or am I lost in this moment? When you're lost in the moment, you're identified with the experience. Your awareness has collapsed into the content of your mind. You're not just thinking thoughts, you are your thoughts. You're not just feeling emotions, you are your emotions. But when you observe the moment, you create a gap. You recognize that there's awareness watching the thoughts, watching the emotions, watching the experience. And in that gap, you remember that you're not the content. You're the consciousness experiencing the content. This might sound simple, but it's profound. Because every time you practice observing instead of identifying, you're training your consciousness to operate from a quantum perspective. You're reminding yourself that you're not a fixed entity moving through a fixed reality. You're a field of awareness interacting with a field of possibility. And that shift in perspective is the foundation of quantum awakening. Do this practice for just 2 minutes, 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. And I promise you, within a week, you'll start to notice moments where you catch yourself before you collapse into old patterns. You'll feel yourself as the space in which experience happens, not just the experience itself. The second awakening technique is what I call frequency anchoring. This is based on the understanding that everything in the universe is vibration. Your thoughts have a frequency. Your emotions have a frequency. And in manifestation, we believe that the reality you experience is a reflection of the dominant frequency you're broadcasting. So if you want to trigger a quantum leap in consciousness, you need to consciously choose a frequency that's higher than your habitual state. Here's how you do it. Choose one elevated emotion that represents the state you want to live from. Maybe it's peace, maybe it's joy, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's love. Whatever resonates for you. Then, set a timer on your phone to go off 3 times throughout the day. When that timer goes off, stop whatever you're doing and spend 60 seconds generating that emotion in your body. Don't just think about it, feel it. Breathe it into your chest. Let it fill your nervous system. You're not waiting for circumstances to give you that emotion. You're creating it first. And this is key. In manifestation, we believe that when you generate an emotion before the physical evidence shows up, you're sending a signal to the quantum field that you're already living in that reality. You're collapsing the wave of probability toward the experience that matches that frequency. If this blew up your mind, hit subscribe and bell icon next to it. Also join our manifestation club on gogetter.au. Join the movement, become part of a global space where we explore the art of conscious creation, quantum alignment, and embodied manifestation. This isn't just a channel, it's a frequency. If you felt a nudge or a change while watching, you're already tuned in. We're not just watching content, we're practicing new ways of being. We're not just absorbing, we're creating possibilities. We're not just learning, we're remembering. I'm truly glad you're here. Let's keep growing and shifting together. The third awakening technique is the quantum awakening meditation. This is a specific practice designed to help you experience yourself as pure consciousness, separate from the identity you've been living inside. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed for 15 to 20 minutes. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and begin by focusing on your breath, not controlling it, just observing it. Let your awareness settle into the present moment. After a few minutes, start to notice the space behind your eyes, not your thoughts, the space in which thoughts appear. Notice that there's awareness watching the thoughts. Now ask yourself, who is watching? Don't answer with your name or your role or your story. Just notice the awareness itself. Then, begin to expand that awareness. Notice that the same consciousness watching your thoughts is also aware of the sensations in your body. It's aware of the sounds around you. It's aware of the space in the room. And here's the quantum shift. That awareness isn't inside your head. Your sense of being located inside your body is a perception, not a fact. Consciousness doesn't have a location. It's a field. And in this meditation, you're practicing experiencing yourself as that field, not as the localized identity you've been conditioned to believe you are. Stay in this expanded state for as long as feels comfortable. And when you're ready to come back, do it slowly. Don't rush back into thinking. Let yourself rest in that spacious awareness for a few moments. And here's what's profound. Every time you do this meditation, you're training your nervous system to recognize that your true nature isn't the personality, isn't the story, isn't the past. Your true nature is the consciousness that's aware of all of it. And in manifestation, we believe that when you identify as consciousness instead of as the conditioned self, you unlock access to quantum possibilities that were invisible to the conditioned mind. This meditation is how you begin to live from that awakened state, not just think about it. And in the comments, drop one word that captures the energy you're choosing to carry forward. Maybe it's alignment, maybe it's ease, maybe it's power, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's something uniquely yours. Let that word be a small but profound declaration, a signal like a quantum seed you plant not just in the space but in the quantum field. Now we are moving into the fourth technique, and this is the one I mentioned earlier. This is about identity transformation protocols. Because here's what most people don't understand about quantum awakening. It's not just about expanding your awareness, it's about fundamentally transforming who you believe you are. And that's where quantum healing comes into play, because the same principles that allow consciousness to shift reality also allow consciousness to heal the body at a cellular level. But let me explain the identity piece first, and then I'll connect this to what you need to explore next. Your identity is a quantum construct. It's not a fixed thing. It's a pattern of energy and information that you've been unconsciously repeating. Every time you say, I am, you're collapsing a wave of possibility into a specific expression. I am anxious, I am broke, I am unlucky, I am not good enough. These aren't just descriptions. In manifestation, we believe these are creative declarations. You're instructing the quantum field to organize reality around that identity, and the field is neutral. It doesn't judge whether your identity serves you or not, it just reflects it back to you as experience. So if you want a quantum leap in consciousness, you have to consciously dissolve the old identity and build a new one. And this isn't about affirmations, it's deeper than that. It's about rewiring the neural pathways and energetic patterns that have been running your life on autopilot. Here's the protocol. First, you need to identify the core beliefs that define your current identity. Write them down. Be brutally honest. What do you believe about yourself that limits your experience? Maybe it's I'm not creative, maybe it's I'm bad with money, maybe it's I'm not worthy of love. Whatever it is, write it down. Second, you need to trace each belief back to its origin. When did you first decide this was true about you? Was it something someone said to you? Was it an experience you had? Was it a conclusion you drew based on limited information? The goal here isn't to blame anyone. It's to see that these beliefs aren't facts, they're interpretations. They're stories you told yourself at a moment in time, and you've been unconsciously reinforcing them ever since. Third, you consciously choose a new identity, not based on what you think is realistic, based on what you deeply desire. If you could be anyone, if there were no limitations, who would you be? What would you believe about yourself? How would you move through the world? Write that down, get specific. And here's the quantum part. You don't wait until you become that person to start living as that person. You start now. You act as if the new identity is already true. You make decisions from that place. You speak from that place. You feel from that place. And this is where quantum healing connects. Because when you transform your identity at the consciousness level, your body begins to respond. There's research showing that beliefs and emotions directly impact gene expression. Dr. Bruce Lipton's work in epigenetics demonstrates that the environment your cells are bathed in, which includes your thoughts and emotions, determines which genes turn on and which genes turn off. When you shift your identity from I am sick to I am whole, you're not just changing a mental concept. In manifestation, we believe you're changing the informational field that your cells are responding to. And that's why quantum healing techniques, which use consciousness to work at the cellular and subatomic level, are so powerful. They're based on the same principle. Consciousness isn't separate from matter. It's the organizing force that determines how matter behaves. So after you finish this video, I want you to watch the one on quantum healing techniques. Because once you understand how to transform your identity, the next step is learning how to direct that consciousness toward healing your body, releasing old traumas stored in your cells, and literally rewriting your biology. It's all connected. Quantum awakening isn't just about waking up mentally, it's about waking up in every dimension of your being. Click and watch it now, because what you're about to learn will show you how deep this transformation can go. Now, the fifth and final technique I want to share is what I call the Advanced Awakening Quantum Method. This is for people who have been doing the work, who have some level of energetic sensitivity, and who are ready to work with consciousness in a more direct way. This technique combines breath work, visualization, and intentional energy direction to create a powerful state of quantum coherence. And in that state, you become a clear channel for manifesting rapid shifts in your reality. Here's how it works. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and begin a specific breathwork pattern. Inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4. Hold the breath for a count of 4. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. And hold the breath out for a count of 2. Repeat this cycle for 5 minutes. This pattern activates your parasympathetic nervous system and creates a state of calm alertness. Your brain waves shift from beta, which is your normal waking state, into alpha and potentially theta, which are the states associated with deep meditation, creativity, and access to the subconscious mind. Once you're in this state, begin to visualize yourself as a being of light, not metaphorically. Actually see and feel your body as a field of luminous energy. See the space around you as a field of energy as well. And now, set a clear intention. What do you want to create? What do you want to experience? What reality do you want to collapse into your life? State it clearly in your mind, and then, using your breath, breathe that intention into the center of your chest, into your heart space. Feel it as if it's already real. Feel the emotion of having it. Feel the gratitude of living it. And as you breathe, imagine that intention radiating outward from your heart into the field around you, into the quantum field that connects all things. Stay in this visualization for 10 to 15 minutes. And here's what's happening on a quantum level. According to manifestation principles, you're creating a coherent signal. Your heart, your brain, and your intention are all aligned. And when you're in that state of coherence, the electromagnetic field you generate is orders of magnitude stronger than when you're in a scattered or stressed state. That coherent field, we believe, interacts with the quantum field, influencing the probability of certain outcomes. You're not forcing anything, you're not manipulating anything, you're simply broadcasting a clear signal, and the field responds by organizing reality around that signal. When you're done, open your eyes slowly. Don't rush back into activity. Take a few moments to integrate. And then, this is crucial, act on any intuitive hits you receive. If you feel called to reach out to someone, do it. If you feel called to take a specific action, do it. Quantum awakening isn't just about inner work. It's about becoming responsive to the intelligence that's guiding you. And that intelligence often communicates through intuition, through synchronicity, through those quiet nudges you feel in your body. The more you honor those nudges, the stronger the communication becomes. In the comments, share one small act you're committing to today, something that anchors you into your new identity, into your awakened consciousness. It could be as simple as breathe, or trust, or open, or I choose love. Your word matters, your act matters, because you matter. So let's bring this all together. Quantum awakening is not a destination. It's a process of remembering who you truly are beneath the conditioning, beneath the story, beneath the identity you inherited. It's the moment you realize that you're not a separate self navigating a fixed reality. You're a field of consciousness participating in the creation of reality. And when you wake up to that truth, everything changes. Not because the external world magically transforms overnight, but because you transform. And as you transform, the reality you experience begins to reflect that transformation. The 5 stages we talked about, disruption, seeking, identity crisis, integration, and embodiment, these are the natural rhythm of expansion. Don't resist them. Don't judge yourself for being in one stage or another. Just know where you are and trust the process. The awakening techniques we covered, the quantum observer practice, frequency anchoring, the quantum awakening meditation, the identity transformation protocols, and the advanced awakening quantum method. These are your tools. Use them consistently. Make them part of your daily practice. Because quantum awakening isn't something that happens to you once and you're done. It's something you cultivate. It's something you live into more fully with each passing day. And I want to remind you of something really important. You didn't find this video by accident. The fact that you're still watching, the fact that these words are resonating, that's not random. In manifestation, we believe that when you're ready for a quantum leap, the information you need finds you. The teachers show up, the practices appear, the universe or the quantum field or whatever you want to call it conspires to support your expansion. So trust that you're exactly where you need to be. Trust that the discomfort you've been feeling is not a sign that something's wrong, it's a sign that something's right. It's a sign that you're ready to step into a new version of yourself, a version that's more aligned, more awake, more connected to the infinite creative power that lives within you. Make sure you share this video with your loved ones. Remember, you're not just sharing, you're spreading, awakening, you're spreading the frequency of conscious creation. For you, it may be just sharing, but for someone, it may be the catalyst that triggers their quantum leap, the reminder they needed to trust what they're feeling, the permission they've been waiting for to step into their power. And here's the last thing I want to leave you with. Quantum awakening changes everything, but it doesn't change everything overnight. There's an integration period, there's a recalibration. Your nervous system needs time to adjust to the new frequency. Your relationships need time to adjust to the new you. Your external circumstances need time to catch up to your internal shift. So be patient with the process, be gentle with yourself, and most importantly, stay connected to the practices, because the practices are what anchor the awakening into your lived experience. They are what turn a temporary insight into a permanent transformation. You are not who you were when you started this video. Something has shifted. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's profound, but it's real. And that shift is the beginning of everything. That shift is the moment your quantum awakening truly begins. So honor it, nurture it, and let it grow into the fullest expression of who you came here to be. Now, like I mentioned earlier, once you've begun this journey of awakening consciousness, the next frontier is learning how quantum healing techniques can work at the cellular and subatomic level. Because the same consciousness that awakens to its creative power can also be directed toward healing your body, releasing stored trauma, and rewriting the information that's been running your biology. That video on quantum healing is already up. Click and watch it now. It's the natural next step in your quantum awakening journey, and it will show you how to apply everything you've learned here to the physical dimension of your being. Go watch it. Your expanded consciousness is waiting to express itself in every cell of your body.